Okay, so in this video I am going to be doing a buyer's guide to the Shimano SLX baitcaster lineup, because between the North American market and the Japanese market there are a total of 7 Shimano SLX baitcasters for sale today at the same time. So in this video I'm going to be going over each and every one and pointing out the differences between them, and hopefully this is going to help out anyone who is interested in the very popular Shimano SLX baitcaster lineup. And I say it's very popular because in just 5 or 6 short years the SLX lineup has expanded from like 1 to 7 reels, almost as many as the CURADO lineup. And if you go on Tackle Warehouse and check every couple of weeks what their top selling reels are, you're always going to see SLX reels on this page. So as you can see, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and if it wasn't for these closeout reels here, there could be more, as well as usually a lot of Shimano CRONARCH models on this page as well. So needless to say, the Shimano SLX is a hugely popular success for Shimano, and for good reason, because they are a huge value proposition. So let's start off with the North American lineup. So we're going to go to Shimano's page on Tackle Warehouse, and we're going to start off with the cheapest and go up to the highest, and then we're going to hit up the JDM models. Alright, so right here is the cheapest SLX, the $99 SLX A150. Now back in 2018 when the SLX first came out, it was also $99, and thankfully it's remaining at $99, even though this reel is a refreshed version of the original. But I bring up the price because the price of several other reels have really gone up, but the SLXs are still a great value proposition. Now the difference between this reel and the original reel is that the graphic on the palm side plate has changed from that bright blue that kind of turned off a lot of people to this more discreet silver, and Shimano added Silent Tune, which are O-rings on the spool shaft that help keep the bearings pinned for quote-unquote better and smoother casting. But other than that, it's the same. You got the same frame and body that sport that raw graphite finish in all black, same handles, same knobs, your 150 capacity spool, and yeah, that's it. But that's apparently plenty for a lot of people, because this reel is once again a top seller for Shimano. Alright, let's go down to the next one. That is going to be another top seller, the stunning SLX 150 XT, and XT stands for Extra Tune. Now the XT cost $30 more, coming in at $129, but let me tell you what you're going to get for your $30, and in my opinion it's well worth it. Now the first thing you're going to get is going to be a better looking paint job that's a lot more pleasant to palm. So you're going to get a satin matte finish on the frame and the side plates, and the color has changed to two-tone. I don't know if you guys can tell, but the frame is black while the side plates are this dark gray. Now you also get the addition of this chrome trim piece, hopefully you guys can see it right there, as well as the chrome knob end caps and a spool tension that has some silver accents. So overall the XT looks much more expensive and much better than the base SLX in my opinion. But what really separates this XT from the regular SLX is the addition of Shimano's mighty SVS Infinity braking system. So while in the base SLX, if you wanted to adjust the brakes, you'd have to open up the side plate and you'd only have about 6 adjustments you could make total. Now with this XT, you have that internal adjustment, but you can see you have this external dial to fine-tune whatever internal adjustment you have. And I've done a video on how this system is much better than the base system. I did it quite a few years ago, but if you want to check it out, it's in my video list. But yeah, that alone, in my opinion, makes this SLX XT worth that extra $30 over the base SLX. All this other cosmetic stuff is just a bonus. Now the spool capacity is going to be the same. It's going to be a 150 in Shimano speak. But yeah, at $129.99, this SLX 150 XT, in my opinion, is probably the best bang for the buck reel currently on sale today. Well, as far as mainstream offerings go. Alright, so let's go to the next one. And here it is right here. This is the SLX MGL 70, and this reel comes in at $149.99, so another $20 over the 150 XT and then $50 over the base SLX. So let's go over what makes this reel different versus the base model and the XT, even though they share the same frame. Now with the MGL 70, you get, I believe, the same color as the XT and the same finish, so like a matte satin finish that is very pleasing to touch. You can see the spool tension is colored a little different. It's black with blue accents. The knobs are smaller and more finesse oriented. You still get the SVS Infinity externally adjustable centrifugal brakes, but the SLX MGL logo is a more stealth black color. You still get the chrome trim piece of the XT, but the difference is, hopefully you guys can see it, probably not, but you're gonna get a lighter, higher performing, shallower MGL spool with this MGL 70. So since it's shallower, Shimano, I guess, designates it as a 70 line capacity. And I've done a video on this reel and unboxing and analysis several years ago, and I think the spool is like almost 2 grams lighter than the standard SLX and the XT. So when you combine that with it holding less line, this is definitely a finesse oriented reel, or a reel for short casting presentations like pitching. Now this reel probably can dip into upper bait finesse weights as well if you pair it up with the right rod. But yeah, that's the difference between the MGL 70 versus the XT and the base model SLX. Alright, so let's go to the last American market SLX. That is going to be the DC 150. So this reel, I don't know if you can tell, it has an entirely different frame and body than the other smaller, more compact SLX reels I just showed you. Now it's got a raw graphite finish just like the base model, but it's got a chrome trim piece. Hopefully you guys can tell right here. That kind of gives it a little bit of pop and a nice contrast to the pretty much just a flat black color. Now this reel has a bigger and wider spool. In fact, it's the same spool that you'll find in the CURADO DC 150, and of course, with it being a DC reel, it's also going to have DC digital control brakes in the form of the iDC4, which is also found in the much more expensive CURADO DC. So you're going to have 4 different adjustments, one for wind and skipping, one for monofilament and braid, one for fluorocarbon, and one for extreme distance. So the same spool and the same brakes as the Shimano CURADO DC, but it costs a lot less, coming in at $199.99, which is $10 more than when it was introduced. So the price did go up on this SLX DC, but luckily not by much compared to the price hikes on a lot of other Shimano reels. So it's pretty good value proposition, as for the longest time this was the cheapest DC reel you could buy, and I think it's like $60 cheaper than the CURADO DC. Alright, so that's it for the American SLX lineup, and now it's time to go over to Japan. So we're here on Digitaka, and luckily they have them all listed in order. So you can see right here we have a total of 4 SLX reels available in Japan, 2 of them being entirely different DC reels than the one available here in America. But we're going to start off with the cheapest one first, and that is going to be probably the only crossover reel in the SLX lineup that's both available in Japan and America, and that of course obviously is going to be that SLX MGL 70. And at Digitaka it is priced at only about $127. Now the spool, the brakes, the frame and body are the same, but the difference between this reel and the North American reel is going to be the knobs are a little bit smaller and the handle is thinner and more finesse oriented. It's definitely not as beefy as the handle you get on the North American SLX MGL. In fact, this is the same handle that you got on that generation of Shimano's bait finesse reels. But there's a better picture of the MGL spool. You can see it's got nice blue anodization in the porting. It's another picture of it. You can see how shallow it is. It's another good picture of the spool, the brakes. Now you'll see on the Japanese model it doesn't say MGL, but if we go to Shimano's web page in Japan, you'll see it is the cheapest SLX that they offer. So if you're wondering what the purpose of this SLX MGL is, just think of it as a finesse SLX that is not bait finesse. So in the last video I showed you guys that the METANIUM lineup had that shallow edition. This is basically the shallow edition of the SLX. Alright, so next up is going to be the SLX BFS, which is the bait finesse model of the SLX. This apparently is a very popular reel, and at Digitaka it's only like $142. Wow. So let's take a look at this reel. This reel is obviously once again the bait finesse version of the SLX, so it's got a very shallow, very lightweight spool. And this reel is different in the fact that it is actually using an entirely different body than the other SLXs. It's using the frame and body of the old Scorpion BFS, and this reel is currently pretty much the same reel as the current CURADO BFS with a couple of changes. And the changes are that the SLX BFS has that thinner, slimmer, more finesse handle, and the drag star is graphite. And of course the color is a little bit different. But with the CURADO BFS, you can see that it's got a way more robust handle, and the drag star is made of aluminum, but the spool weight's the same, and more importantly the brake system is the same, which is going to be Shimano's magnetic FTB finesse tuned brake, which was developed specifically for bait finesse. So that makes it a dynamic system, which is the same system you'll find on all of Shimano's previous generation higher end BFS reels. And there's a little bit more of an explanation of how the brakes work. But this reel is going to have the smallest spool out of all the SLXs, coming in at 32 millimeters by 22. And not surprising, because it's once again the Bait Finesse model. And yeah, let's go to the next model. Alright, so that brings us to the first of the two DC reels, the SLX DC. And you can see it says new here. And apparently this reel at Digitaka is only $162. Let's take a closer look. So this reel is going to sport the exact same frame as you get in the American market SLX DC, but you can see the paint job is just much better looking. It's two-tone. The frame is black with the side plates being like a gray. It's got the chrome knob end caps. Got the same chrome trim piece, but you can see, in my opinion, it's a much more attractive color with a more stealthy SLX DC logo. There's more pictures. Now the knobs are going to be smaller and more finesse oriented in the Japanese version, and the thing that makes this reel new, even though it's just a refreshing of a previous SLX DC, is that they've included the narrower, lighter MGL 3 spool. So if we go over to the information on Shimano's web page, you can see that they added the MGL 3 spool, and because of that they have retuned the IDC4 brake system to that new, lighter, I guess faster MGL3 spool. It says equipped with new firmware IDC4 based on MGL spool 3, and this spool is actually smaller than the previous spool, coming in at 33 millimeters by 21. So of course with the IDC4 brakes you only get 4 total brake settings, which are adjustable from the outside. Now the previous model did not have an MGL3 spool, but it had a spool that was modified to hold less line, and it was blue in color. I actually have that reel and I did a couple of videos on it. If you want to scroll back through my video list to check it out. But because of this smaller, shallower spool, the SLX DC in Japan is considered a 70 capacity, as you can see here. Alright, so let's get to the last DC model. That is going to be one of my current favorite reels of the moment. That's the SLX DC XT, and once again XT stands for Extra Tune. And this reel currently at Digitaka is about $210. So technically, before taxes, this is the most expensive SLX model, but we'll go more into price later, because I think you can find this cheaper, even coming in at like, you know, low 190s if you shop around. But this reel is special, and let me show you why. Alright, so this reel came out last year and is using a modified version of the old Scorpion DC frame, which is also the old CURADO I-frame. And what they did was they narrowed it to hold an MGL3 spool. And it might be the same spool that you get in the cheaper SLX DC. Let's check out these dimensions. You can see they designate it as a 70 capacity spool as well. 33 by 21. So yeah, it might actually be the same spool as the cheaper base SLX DC. But this reel, I think it has more bearings, and I can definitely say it's smaller, lighter, and more comfortable to palm, and definitely better looking. It's got a gloss finish, and this photo doesn't do it justice. In hand, this reel is stunning. It's got that chrome thumb bar. But yeah, this is one of my favorite reels currently, and it's probably one of the best bang for the buck reels, even though it costs over $200 at Digitaka. But the reason for the price increase on this XT is they've equipped it with the IDC5 brake system. So that means you have a total of 15 adjustments for the XT versus 4 for the American and Japanese market base DC. So what you do is, inside, if you open up the side plate, you have 3 line modes. You got your fluorocarbon, your monofilament, and braid. So you pick out which line mode you want to use, and then you can see there's an external dial that goes from 1 to 4, which adjusts the brake strength, and then A for, I believe, automatic or all around or something like that. Now, I've had this reel for at least a year now. It came out last year, and I've done a couple of videos on it. If you want to check it out, in my opinion, it's definitely worth the money. And if you don't need a whole lot of line capacity, I would definitely pick this reel over the American market SLX DC, because if you go over and check out the price, $199, you can add another, what, $20 for sales tax. So this is going to be about a $220 reel. That's far less special in my opinion, versus $209 or probably even cheaper elsewhere on Digitaka. But this reel is, I guess, the closest reel we're going to get to a bait finesse or finesse DC reel. And in fact, I still have to put this through the bait finesse test. So there we go, guys. And if you're still watching this video, I'm going to do this. If you want me to get, I guess, the quote-unquote new base SLX, one with the silver graphics, the SLX A150, give me 500 likes. Or if you prefer that I try out the new SLX DC over in Japan, the one with the IDC4, also give me 500 likes. But just leave in the comments which one you prefer that I get and test out. And once I get 500 likes, I'm gonna, I guess, count up all the comments to see which reel got more votes, and then of course I'll buy one and do a bunch of videos on it. So I hope this helps anyone out who is looking at the SLX lineup and is confusing you because of all the models. In my opinion, if you are on a tight budget, there's really only one SLX to get, and that is going to be that XT150 right here. But that's just my opinion. Alright guys, thanks a lot.